Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel, where we discuss things outside of the whole repair realm of things. So if you care about what I say, you watch ETCG1. Thank you for watching. Today I'd like to talk about something that sort of came up last week, and that is the true cost of diagnostics. You can have a bunch of special tools, the greatest scan tool in the world, all of that stuff. But really, the greatest diagnostic tool, in my opinion, is the one between your ears. And I think most automotive instructors would agree with me. So it's the knowledge that you have there that you bring to bear towards a performance issue or some kind of issue that you're trying to address. That you bring in should a customer come to you with a vehicle that's not working properly. And maybe nobody else can fix it. Maybe it's already been to another shop. And this was the genesis of this discussion. It actually started with my friend Mark Hicks from Wells Electronics, who sent me an article for the website, which I'm going to post a link to in the description, about I think it was a Chevrolet Silverado or something like that, that was having an issue that they'd sent to the dealership for. And I don't want to ruin the surprise of what happened, but it was a strange situation. It was setting a code for something, and it ended up being something that was not necessarily related to that code. And it took them about 10 days, I think, in order to do that diagnosis. The dealership had tried, they'd thrown parts at it, and they were at their wits' end. So eventually it ended up over at Wells. Very smart people over there. They picked apart this thing, but it was an intermittent problem, and it wasn't quite happening all the time. So they had to find a way to just find the problem or just catch the problem in action. Because that's the issue with diagnostics sometimes. It becomes elusive. Like there's some kind of gremlin in the machine that's just kind of hiding from you. Every time it sees that it's in a shop, it's like, ooh, I'm gonna hide. And then as soon as it leaves the parking lot of the shop, well, that's when it starts to act up again. It's funny how it works out that way. So when you're dealing with an intermittent problem like that, or some strange performance problem with a check engine light that keeps coming back, which was the case with this, you really have to bring all your wits to bear. And your diagnostic equipment, and it's going to take some time. And as I said, it took them 9 days to not only find the problem, address the problem, and then verify the repair. That's the key there. So if you're going to be in performance diagnostics and things like that, you really have to verify that you actually fixed it. Because if you didn't, and you send it down the road and it comes back, you're no longer the hero. How do you pay? How do you charge for that? How do you charge a customer for that? How do you tell the customer it's going to take me 10 days worth of diagnostics? I think when all was said and done, he said he had something like 9 or 10 hours into it. Now, that's a lot of money, especially if you're talking about at the dealership. We're talking, let's just say a nice even number at $100 an hour. So $900 for diagnosis, not including the actual repair. Ouch. But it needed to be done. Without that effort, that fix would never have happened. So you're at this catch-22 situation. And that's where I say the true cost of diagnostics. Because even if you're working at a dealership and the vehicle's under warranty and the customer is not the one that's going to have to pay for the repair, the manufacturer is, and you're going to have to write that up correctly. And we spoke about this in the last video that I did about writing up work orders. Like if you have to get something called straight time, if you have to like clock your work orders in and out and basically charge for the time that you're actually working on the vehicle, the manufacturer wants to know what you did and why it took you so long in order to pay you anything. And good luck with that in some cases. But here we are, the true cost of repair. Now you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, you've got your biggest diagnostic tool working overtime for you, trying to figure out what the heck it is that's wrong with this vehicle. And you figure it out, but it takes you a great deal of time. How do you charge for that? How do you charge the customer for that? Is this one, I mean, you really can't just give this work away. And at the same time, it's extremely necessary. And these are, in my opinion, the highly skilled end of the auto repair technician field. So these are the people that do these kinds of things. Now, if you could solve these problems efficiently right out of the gate, good for you. But there are times, as I said, where you're up against an intermittent issue that's not just rearing its ugly head all the time, and you have to wait. You have to wait till that mole sticks its head up out of the ground and say, aha, there you are. And then you can address the issue. But it may be a couple of days before you can do that. I myself have spent days working on vehicles. I remember, I think I had an RSX that had a suspension noise that took me about 4 days to find. I was driving that thing around all day long with the chassis air on just about every single component on the suspension until I finally found the lower control arm bushings were causing the problem. that was a difficult find. It was a newer vehicle too, so maybe the bushing wasn't installed correctly or something like that. You had to hit a bump exactly the right way and exactly the right time in order for that noise to appear. So not only did I had to nail down where it was coming from, but then I had to verify that it was gone. And that was extremely difficult. And like I said, it took 4 days. Luckily, that was a warranty job. The customer didn't have to absorb that cost, but at the same time, I didn't get paid for all the time I had into that vehicle. I'm sure that you have plenty of input on this topic, and I look forward to your experiences and your responses to this. In fact, there will be a link in the description to a forum post that involves this video where we can continue this discussion. Feel free to post your comments below as well. Yeah, the true cost of diagnostics. What is your opinion? And also check out that article from my friend Mark Hicks. It was a really great fix, and it might actually help you down the road, because it's, like I said, it was a tricky thing. It was a tricky thing. What are your thoughts? I look forward to your comments here and over at the website. Anyway, Eric the Car Guy, also known as ETCG1. Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, you know where to ask your automotive questions. Where? Over at the website search function. Glad you got that figured out. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. ETCG1 signing off. See you next time.